tell them check out the blog, bro. YouTube channel called MKO. It's pugilism, boxing algorithm. M stand for Marvin and Kevin's initials KO. Yeah. What's good, ladies and gentlemen? This is the MKO pugilism boxing channel. We're talking all things boxing as per usual. And right now, just gonna make a little quick one here about Michael Hunter being dropped by Matchroom Boxing. Of course, don't you forget to put the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like button. It always helps the channel. And of course, you'll be the first to know when we drop the new content to you. So recently we've heard about Michael Hunter being dropped by Matchroom Boxing, which is a very, very interesting development because Michael Hunter, he's an American heavyweight boxer. He's a guy who came up from cruiserweight. He has only actually lost one fight, and that was when he was a cruiserweight, when he fought the Alexander Usyk, who has now also moved up to heavyweights. Was due to fight Derek Warchizora, but hey, you know, we don't know about rescheduling of that due to the COVID. So Hunter is a guy that's a very exciting heavyweight, very good fighter. You know, he always brings action. He's definitely a guy that I'm quite surprised that Matchroom decided not to retain his services. It's an interesting one because he's a guy that, okay, fan base wise, he doesn't have like a massive fan base or a enormous following. He's a guy that's kind of dangerous. He's definitely a dangerous heavyweight. He's not the biggest puncher, but he's sort of among the smaller sized heavyweights, but he's very quick, he's very sharp, and he's a guy that he throws lots of punches, and he's the type of guy that I believe if you showed Michael Hunter's fights, especially his last one versus Povetkin, to the casual fan who doesn't know much about boxing, I think he's the type of guy that his performances would sort of get people interested because he goes in there and he starts very fast when he fights, and you know, he's an exciting guy. He's very exciting to watch, Michael Hunter. So for Matchroom to get rid of him, and I think the reasoning was Hearn was saying, well, the heavyweight division is getting very congested. We're not going to be able to get Michael Hunter the opportunities that he wants, so you know, we're just not going to retain your services. And Hearn done it in kind of an amicable way, I suppose, because he did wait right until the contract expired. And what we're talking about here really is the contract expired and they decided not to renew it. So I think it was a free fight deal that Hunter had with Matchroom, and all they've done is they said, look, we're not gonna renew your deal, we're not going to renew your contract, we're just going to stop it dead there. And it is quite interesting because in terms of boxers that Matchroom has, I'd argue that Michael Hunter is definitely right up there with the heavyweights. I mean, they've got Joseph Parker, you know, they've got Dillian White, they've also got guys like Dave Allen as well, who's a decent guy, but again, he's more sort of British level, you know, that sort of level. So it's interesting that even they've got Martin Bakoli, who I rate quite highly, and he's another good fighter, good fringe level fighter. How good he is, I think we'll have to see him against this guy Kuzmin in the Matchroom show on the 22nd of August, which White and Povetkin headline. And I think it is interesting regarding Hunter because Hunter is a guy who he hasn't really put much of a foot wrong when he's come up to heavyweight. I mean, you look at the guys who are main eventing Matchroom card on the 22nd, Dillian White, Alexander Povetkin. He'd been sort of calling for the Dillian White fight, but I can sort of understand on White's side why he wouldn't take that fight, because I suppose with a Michael Hunter, he's not going to really elevate you much. You know, he's White wants the sort of champions, and but at the same time, Hunter took Alexander Povetkin to a draw in his last fight, and Povetkin is headlining, whereas Hunter, his contract hasn't been renewed. You look at a guy like Martin Bakole, who's another good fighter, African dude, but you look at him, and when he fought Michael Hunter stopped him. He sparked him. He knocked him out. But yet Bakole is retained and his services are retained, but Michael Hunter's services are not retained. And the irony is, Michael Hunter, his contract's up. He's gone from Matchroom. But Bakole, who was knocked out by Michael Hunter, he's going to be on the card with Dylan White headlining. He's going to be fighting this guy Kuzmin, who he beat David Price, I believe, in his last fight or something like that. So, I mean, it is interesting because Michael Hunter, he's better than some of these heavyweights in the Matchroom stable. He hasn't really put a foot wrong. I mean, the only, if you want to say put a foot wrong, the only thing you can really say is he drew with Povetkin, and as the younger guy, fresher guy, he should have beaten Povetkin. You could say that, but I mean, he hasn't really put much of a foot wrong. And I think he's one of them guys where if he's given the right push and he's given the top opponents to fight, I don't see, I think he could only sort of go on to higher heights and make great fights. I mean, there's a number of reasons why maybe they didn't retain him. I mean, some people are saying he's not a marketable guy. He's not active on social media. He's not a big talker. He's not a very controversial figure. So that's why they didn't retain him. He's not sort of media friendly. But I mean, that's a good point there. But I mean, so I don't even think a guy like Bakole is like a big talker like that, in himself, and he's retained, and he's not a big talker. I mean, he does call outs and stuff like that, but Hunter does call outs of people. I mean, other people say, well, it could be because he done some work with Andy Ruiz when Andy Ruiz was preparing to fight Anthony Joshua, and he's in pictures with Andy Ruiz, preparing Ruiz to fight Joshua as a sparring partner. And some people say, well, Matchroom might not have been happy with that, and fair enough, that could even be the case. We don't know, but I do find it rather interesting and a bit puzzling in a way, because I would think that Matchroom would want to keep a heavyweight, sort of a guy that, since he's moved up to heavyweight, undefeated, he's always in exciting fights. I would think that a guy like that would be an asset to a promotional stable, but I guess there's, there must be something to it, but, I guess we'll never know unless we're in the Matchroom offices or whatever. But, I think, as one man said, as Hatman said, I think it might even be something that they might regret down the line, because I'm sure another promoter might be wanting to pick him up. Maybe a Frank Warren might pick him up and do big things with him or whatever. Who knows? Maybe a Bob Arum. Yeah, it's one of those things. Ultimately, Michael Hunter himself, in his statement, he said he's not really too bitter about it. He said he never really felt like part of the Matchroom stable. He never really felt like he was part of the team. He said he always felt like he was just sort of a gun for hire. He never really saw himself as really a big part of Matchroom team. He never saw himself as someone who was important. He always saw himself as sort of just a gun for hire, just a sort of guy that is there for a contract, and that's it. It's almost as if the way he spoke in his statement was more like he was almost saying, well, I kind of had a feeling this day could come. So, maybe he knows something we don't. But nonetheless, all the best to Michael Hunter in his career. I think it is a shame that those ties were cut, but you know, in boxing, you can always pick yourself up. You can always go with another promoter. And, you know, I hope that's what happens for him. I wish him all the best going forward. And that's just my thoughts on that subject. Until next time, this is MKO Pugilism. We're over and out. Till the next blog. See you next time.